To the federal election, and there's been an unexpected twist in the campaign, with last-minute polling showing the result could be a lot closer than previously thought. John Howard remains adamant he can prove the critics wrong to win an historic fifth term, snatching victory from Kevin Rudd.
Queensland shopping centres weren't safe for voters on the last day of the election. John Howard tireless in his pursuit of elusive votes.
And I'll find out on Saturday night whether I've been a good boy.
Maybe the truth of this election is hidden in the corridors beneath the ministerial offices in Parliament House. 350 wheelie bins have been moved into place, ready to clear out the belongings of the 30 coalition frontbenchers who've been running the country. John Howard began his pleading with undecided voters on morning television, closely shadowed by Kevin Rudd.
If you do change the government, the direction in which the country is heading will change.
Mr Howard won't be there for the future. He said he's retiring.
The country's major newspapers have split 50-50 for Labor and Liberal, but in Mr Howard's hometown, a rare double, both suggesting a change to Kevin Rudd. The bookies have picked up a late rush for Labor, giving the coalition only a 22% chance of winning.
Have they closed their books yet?
Not yet. What makes you
No, they should keep them open. They should keep them open until 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
And with the latest news poll, that could be good advice. Labor has seen its support slump 2 points to 52% after preferences, while the coalition has gained 2 to 48. This afternoon's news poll has picked up a swing back to the government in WA and Queensland, which suggests that while Labor is still the favourite, it's going to be a cliffhanger. And Mr Rudd is still climbing Mount Everest.
And I know there's another bloke climbing on the other side, and this will be very tight in terms of who gets there first.
The news poll is in line with the Galaxy poll, also released today, and is the best result for the coalition all year. Paul Bongiorno, 10 News.
John Howard is confident he can defy the odds and win a fifth term in office. The latest poll and some late betting indicate he could be proved right. Murray McCloskey has been travelling with the Prime Minister.
In the final days of campaigning, Mr Howard's been in election overdrive in an attempt to get himself back into the race for the Lodge. It follows a disastrous week for the coalition, so it's back to grassroots campaigning. Mr Howard hitting as many shopping centres and markets as he could, the all too familiar walk-through. He targeted 3 Liberal-held marginal seats in Brisbane before heading to Cairns overnight and then arriving here in Townsville this morning to bolster support in more Liberal-held electorates. It's a clear sign that the PM is trying to consolidate support in this battleground state and at least hang on to what he's got. He wants Labor to do as poorly in Queensland at this election as it did in the last election, and he's appealing to undecided voters for their support. So the Prime Minister really has quickened the pace. He's every step followed by the media pack. And the mood here, well, the Liberal camp is steeling itself for a Kevin 07 backlash, and they're putting on a brave face. Mr Howard will be back in Sydney tonight, election eve, and his walk tomorrow morning from Kirribilli House could be his last as Prime Minister if the polls are right.
And Kevin Rudd has been trying to make the most of the last full day of campaigning in the federal election. 10 reporter Leonie Mellor has been travelling with the opposition leader.
Less than 24 hours to go and Kevin Rudd is leaving nothing to chance. He's set a cracking pace this entire campaign, crisscrossing the country several times, fitting as much in as possible. He's run a very disciplined campaign right from the beginning. He started off by agreeing with the government on tax cuts and pensioner bonuses, but then drew a very clever distinction between himself and John Howard by spending only a quarter of the money to fund his promises during his campaign launch. He did run into a bit of bother in Tasmania when he visited a senior citizens club. Not everyone was happy to see him, but the reaction to Mr Rudd has been fairly positive, as you can see by this shopping centre walk here today. Also, when he's visited many schools around the country, he's been mobbed by the children there, too young to vote, but nevertheless they've certainly welcomed him as he's visited them, and while he's been selling his education revolution. We've seen just a slight change in tack this past week. Instead of getting out as much as he has previously, he's been concentrating on radio interviews and blitzing the radio stations across the country. The mood in the Rudd camp has been buoyant, even cheerful perhaps, but there's certainly no outward sign, no hint at all that this election is in the bag by any means. Despite what most of the polls say, the team Rudd, Camp Rudd, is keeping a very tight lid on things, not daring to hope beyond tomorrow night. Although I did see Senator John Faulkner, the Labor's usually surly, influential backroom man, crack just the hint of a smile yesterday. I don't know what we can read into that, but all will be revealed tomorrow night.